Or not? Do I just focus on when things don't work and not appreciate when they do? So whatever's at work to pull all this off, it's working. As are those earrings. Even work works.
I just booked this parking spot, this desk, and this conference room. I'm filing status reports on an app that I made. I'm not even a coder, and it works. I like your bag. Real-time ticket upgrade?
Meaning I get to meet my childhood idol?
That works.
I need my dog, Joey Fatone.
CO2 levels.
If I make it, all this technology is helping you can focus on making the world work better. So I say let's work. Or I think that's what we're both saying.
When your digital solutions work, the world works. That's why the world works with ServiceNow.
Hey, it was good, Your Highness.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Madhur Kabra. I represent the solution consulting function for ServiceNow here in India. That was an actually interesting AV, which is talking about how ServiceNow is becoming the defining enterprise software company for the 21st century. My topic of choice today is around resilient IT operations, more focused on the use cases ServiceNow is powering today for the BFSI segment, specifically for the RTB functions, which is more importantly running the bank. Quick introduction for those who do not know about ServiceNow. We are probably one of the fastest growing enterprise software companies in the world today. You take a sample population of Fortune 500 companies, 80 to 85% of them, you will find them customers with ServiceNow. We are a pure play SaaS company, data center in India, and in a SaaS model where a customer practically has an option to pull the plug any year. We actually continue to enjoy an unprecedented renewal rate of close to 97%. But that's more just from an introduction on the ServiceNow standpoint. What I wanted to actually jump into the topic very quickly today is that there are multiple areas that ServiceNow does impact BFSI industries, and we have multiple use cases around it. My topic would be around resilient IT operations. We all have been talking about digital. That is the medium of choice for engaging with customers. And that kind of puts a very important onus back on the IT operations, that how do you keep the right lights running, empowering these particular digital transactions and the various properties that we have created over the years. So I would be talking predominantly around what ServiceNow could be doing or is doing for the BFSI space in the segment of enterprise service management, which is actually more inward looking. How do you kind of motivate and keep those employees happy? We will be talking about resilient IT operations, holistically keep the bank running on the digital asset. And third one, which is obviously increasingly becoming much more crucial, is around how do you manage the regulations piece of it? And I would be looking more into the prism from regulations specifically on the IT operations for the BFSI segments. There are some use cases that ServiceNow could power for. Let me actually start with the first one, which is around the enterprise service management. And this is a problem statement. Let me kind of describe the problem statement for you, first, that what we are experiencing when we are talking to our customers. 60 to 70% of the population working in the BFSI spaces are millennials. These are the people who, when step outside the office premises, are getting the jazz of an Uber, a Swiggy, a Book My Show. It's a great experience, everything available on the touch of the fingertips. But the experience is radically different when these employees are coming back to the offices in terms of what is the experience they are getting as employees when they're interacting with the multitude of technologies and services which are available, aim to actually make them more efficient and productive. But the genesis of technology into all our organization has been over the period of time is that at the bottom of the screen that you see, these are actually representing the various departments that provide services to the employees. And they have developed their own systems of records or technologies, which are actually excellent for the purpose that they are designed for. But now this is kind of creating a bigger challenge in the ecosystem, because when an employee is reaching out to the service functions of an organization, his query is never pinpointed. You require a good amount of coordination happening between these departments to fulfill, a use case for an employee. So let's take a very, very basic example. You could have something As simple as an onboarding of an employee who's joining the bank today. IT needs to get the track ready. Finance has to be in shape to get the salary accounts opened up. Facilities has to figure out giving a parking slot, a badge reading card to this employee on day one. That's what we are all talking about, a great employee experience. But the challenge remains that these departments are working in their own silos of technology, and there is no one underwriting solution to connect all these broken experiences into one single solution. And that's predominantly what ServiceNow is doing for the employee base today, where we are connecting with these various system of records and providing a very unified, easy to comprehend enterprise service management layer. So all the employee needs where an employee wants to know, he wants to do, he wants to help, or he needs care, you can actually now deliver those services using this particular platform. So this, in a way, explains that for this employee to be happy, though the individual departments, the IT, the HR, the finance, the marketing, the facilities, which is serving the employees, they could be developing technologies in own silos and think, that, okay, we have actually developed a great solution. But for this employee, the learning curve is constantly increasing because over the period of time, we have created a link farm in the organization. As an employee, I may end up remembering some 30 to 50 different links in my ecosystem to get the required set of services. And we are trying to digitize all of that into one single platform. Coming to a bit more, intrinsic, something which is more aligned to the run the bank function is around IT operations management. That is the second core theme that we are looking, when we are talking to our customers. And the problem is actually of outages. We have instances, unfortunately, of system degradations because now when banks, the BFSIs are running close to 70 to 80% of their operations digitally, every digital property goes down, obviously is a direct revenue loss, but it is having impact both from a regulatory as well as a brand impact standpoint. Try looking at the Twitter handles of the organization when a critical service is down and you can see the world unleashing, their feedback and their inconvenience on the same. So outages, unfortunately, has become, a serious challenge that something wants to counter, probably the nightmare for every CIO as well. Now, what we are looking or professing as an advocate thought process for our customers is that this is the approach to probably go for. You talk about a zero physical footprint, zero outages, and zero incident. That is obviously the utopian goal, but this is the North Star that we are looking progressively the CIOs in the Indian BFSI industry working towards. Now, from our perspective, the role that we want to play out here is, and this is slightly technical, but it is important to break it down to the nuts and bolts of it. The traditional challenge we have seen in the industry is that now there is no dearth of monitoring solutions. You have something going down and you have your knock centers getting flooded with alerts. Every system is becoming noisy. The problem is finding that proverbial needle in the haystack. How do you empower those specific technicians who are working on consoles to identify the root cause of the problem when there is an outage or a system degradation being reported in the environment? And this is predominantly what we are trying to do in the space of IT operations management, where effectively we are connecting with the various monitoring tools that you have invested in the bank over a period of time in the BFSI segment. We consume all these particular alerts in the system and eventually get you in a mode where the NOC engineer has more elbow room, where we can give him predictions about what could be the impending system degradation that they could be experiencing. And if a degradation really happens, you get into a situation where you are able to remediate or get the services back up running as fast as possible. And that is something that we are looking to drive from the core components and the technology standpoint. Some of the stats that you see on the screen right now is something that we have been able to deliver for our customers here in India as well as from a global footprint standpoint. The last theme of my today's presentation is actually more of a problem that has kind of become very amplified over a period of time is what I would say is all the application owners, all the digital property owners in an organization like a BFSI are answerable to the regulator. There is a massive amount of paperwork, legwork happening in meeting the requirement of second line of defense, third line of defense, ad hoc regulator query. And the prime reason we have found this particular issue occurring is that the systems of technology, which are basically generating compliances or non-compliances, the BAU operations, are all working in silos. As an application owner in the bank today, when I'm faced by regulators, by my internal teams, it's a scramble for me to collate the data, as fast as possible and give them the correct visibility whether I have been compliant to an IT control or not. That's the problem statement. So just to give you a brief indication, if you were to think about from an IT standpoint, which are the various set of controls, the IT risk controls that the banks are trying to monitor when they're looking into an RTB function. You have problems of application availability that you need to report on, what has been the availability of your application infrastructure. There are compliances associated with the obsolescence of software. What is your end of life, end of support, state running across in the system? We have been talking here about partnership with a lot of fintech players. So, a bank working with a Book My Show or a Cred, but privacy also becomes a major challenge on something that reporting from a regulation standpoint is happening very often today. So it becomes not only important for you to know that how you are processing your privacy data, but how your vendors or your partners are processing this privacy data. So these are some of the areas that you are typically reporting on from a compliance standpoint today. Now, if you go to see us as a platform, ServiceNow as a solution today, we are the system of records where the action is happening. My change management, my application monitoring, my supplier risk management, we are the system of records where this entire action is happening today. And now if we also embed the governance, risk, and the compliance framework exactly on the same platform, we are taking away the pain of having the core operations and the watchdog on two separate systems of technology. So one of my interaction with the leading CIO, with the leading bank here in India from the CIO's office is that when we explained them the larger picture, their view was this is practically placing a CCTV camera into the operations where you get a real-time visibility whether I'm being compliant to an IT control or I'm being non-compliant about it. So that's exactly what we're trying to do in this particular space. Effectively, all the authority, the citations, the risk, the statements, and the controls that you have to run your IT risk organization, you get them on the same platform which you are using to run your entire IT operations. And whenever there is a non-compliance happening at any point in time, you get into a mode of continuous compliance monitoring. So let me take an example. You have an infrastructure change which is being executed as emergency change, something has gone down. You have done that change, but this change has been executed without a rollback plan or a fallback plan. And now this change has gone into the system, it is production into live. Later, when you try identifying, has it really failed an IT control at my organization level? It's a post-facto analysis. You can never get that visibility in a real-time scenario. So this is exactly what we are trying to do when we talk about getting the core system of operations as well as the risk and the control parameters working on the same platform. To put this into more context, this is the part I was talking about, what we mean by continuously monitoring for those risk and compliance. So this has an immediate benefit, easing the life not only of the application owners, the first line of responders, but also for your second line and third line of defense in the organization, which are very heavily pressed by the regulators on a constant basis to give accurate data, to give data in a quick format, and establish this entire process as a repeatable journey. I think I have many other scenarios that I could talk about where ServiceNow is playing a role in the BFSI. I would be happy to catch up with you, the esteemed panelists in the audience out here. We have a booth outside, looking forward to more future interactions. Just a quick vent before I wrap up today's session. ServiceNow is coming up with its own set of a marquee event, Achieve, which is happening in 3 cities in the coming weeks. We would really encourage you to register for this particular event. And this event would host a larger play from a ServiceNow ecosystem that we are doing for different sectors across IT, employee, as well as the customer service operations. Thank you.